mute though on the Zoom.
Right, but I'm supposed to be on mute. The computer's supposed to be on mute inside. Can you hear me now? Yeah, but I'm supposed to be on mute inside. Yeah. Can you hear me now or no? Can't hear me.
The live control is mute. That's supposed to be on mute.
Oh, now you can hear me through Zoom?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, then I think it's just as it's supposed to be.
Can you hear me okay?
Echo off the TV.
Yes, I think so.
The TV should be muted then, right? He told me to mute the
guess.
TV.
Oh, maybe when it turned off and we turned it back on, we didn't mute it.
Okay, I
And
muted it. Talk now.
Did you mute it just by turning the volume all the way down?
No, I just pressed that button right there.
So can you hear me now? Does this work? Yeah, it's good? Great.
So, anytime the TV turns off, you just gotta mute it again. So like if it turns black, press the power and then mute, and then everything should be good. And the live control has to always be unmuted.
Wait, hold on. Let me make
should
some
be
noise.
muted, the host,
So,
because we're inside.
so if the TV goes off,
Press the power and then press mute again, or just turn the volume all the way down. Either or. And then the host, JCC, should be muted, and the live host should always be unmuted. So whoever is
right, live control is unmuted right now.
so live control should always be unmuted, and then us, the JCCH host, we should be muted, so we prevent the echo.
Okay, so the thing about the TV is it needs to be facing the compass rather than me, in which case I won't see when it goes black. So, you wouldn't be able to see it from here.
I wouldn't, but whoever's here just has to like.
Yeah. Ray? Yeah. If they're coming to the point, if they're coming to the point where you can't see it.
Uh-huh.
So I went to TJ Maxx today next to my favorite deli place, and they had, it's $10 less, but still.
Perfect.
Excellent. The highlight of my day.
This is good news.
You should go to Woodbury Commons,
Why would I go drive when I can go like right on Central Lake?
because you get the best deal. I'm a reseller, like I resell shoes, like, your Jordan 1s, like all the designer and hype stuff, and I'll go there, and equivalent of spending like $600 to $1,000 would be like half that.
Yeah.
If you need perfume too, they have a fragrance place, you can buy all perfumes for half off.
Where's that?
In Woodbury Commons. It's right next to the Starbucks.
You know what it is about Woodbury Commons? If you get in traffic jam, you got really stuff to get up there.
Really?
Yeah, the road back, I've been on there when it's back up.
Because I drive from
Hello.
and I go all the way up from
So nice to see you.
Woodbury in like 45 minutes. And there's no traffic.
Are you on high
So
school?
can we,
I'm a junior in college. I'm gonna be No, no, no. My,
Oh, you're from Jersey.
yeah, I'm
Did
from
we just try
Jersey.
this very
Mhm.
briefly
I was born
together?
Oh,
in
yeah.
Manhattan, though. So, I like New
How did
Jersey.
you get here then?
So basically, my
Let me know if this is
yeah,
too high.
who was helping out before, he
Shalom
couldn't like come to me, so Steve has
Shalom Aleichem,
well, he asked my uncle, but
Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Is that all right?
That's great.
Good, good.
I mean,
What happened, I was
the,
supposed to have a retirement party, which got
yeah, the key, no.
Yeah, the key.
is, I can
Good.
get close.
Great,
Thank
great.
you. Thank you, thank you.
But, and I miss Steve, I love Matt, I miss Steve.
yeah, it's
My
very
brother- my
ridiculous.
brother
You missed it with COVID though.
My brother was an accountant, so I there's a lot of math in my family.
Shabbat Shalom.
But with COVID, you dodged a bullet. Just teaching.
Okay.
So much different with COVID. Like a lot, some teachers.
And we're doing the Alana area.
Yeah.
A lot of teachers like it, and a lot
And
of
then
teachers
something
don't.
else.
Yeah.
With COVID, because
And,
nobody's in school.
and you wanted
so
to
you
do
would've
the
been
new
teaching
Bishop, right?
online.
I'm
Right,
not a
okay,
techie,
so I will
don't
follow
like techie,
Okay.
but
I did, for some reason, what printed out of my computer did not reflect
It's
some of the
easier
things I
definitely
remembered
yeah.
or having talked about. So
Having
Right,
a
right.
class, 'cause when you have a
Okay.
whole class, you gotta keep
I guess
everybody
I didn't get it to paper.
Yeah, no,
that's not a line of teaching, what do you do to get the kids together and
yeah.
whatever?
It's just annoying when the connection
Hi, everyone.
goes out, especially
Welcome.
in college.
Oh, you
Because a
mean
lot
as
of
with
professors,
technology?
yeah, a lot of professors would have problems, and then what also would
That's
happen.
why they're not high school teachers, that's
No,
why they're
even
college.
even the high school, teachers though would have problems because you can't, you can't control anyone's internet. So if someone's internet goes out, or if your internet goes out,
There are some things that were going on in the high school. I taught in Greenwich High School, but some of my friends at Greenwich said there were some issues with kids getting online and somehow getting into not being where they're supposed to be. I don't know, there were some issues that came up, but I don't know. They're hoping to be back in
person, right? Yeah.
I don't know though with this new virus.
Yeah, the new variant. But luckily, like all colleges are going to probably be back to normal because we're all mandated to, get the vaccine. So I've already been
Do
vaccinated.
you understand why people don't want to get vaccinated?
A lot of
Tell me
people.
why.
The biggest thing is social media. So people will see on social media, why don't you get the vaccine? And then the science changes all the time. So when you have like Dr. Fauci on the news saying like, you can wear a mask, if you're not vaccinated, if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So people start to mix that up. It's really ignorant.
But you know what, I love it, they're like, people in the hospital, they just had COVID, they're upset that they never got the vaccine because they were just really sick with COVID and they wish they had gotten, I don't know.
It's also weird too because some people will contract the virus and then you get supposedly a 90-day immunity once you contracted COVID. So a lot of people, once they've already gotten COVID, they won't get the vaccine because they're like, well, I already got it, so I have, immunities to it. And that is true, but you don't have immunities to any new variant, and you can still pass it on to someone else. So like,
Do not get it.
and then you got people in Florida that just don't care. People in Texas.
I have a question to ask you.
You want to do it right now? So like, or no?
not yet. Maybe when we start the service, that would be good. This way people can talk if they'd like. Hi, everyone. Thank you for asking.
My day is Saturday, always.
What time does the event start tomorrow?
9:30.
9:30.
Yeah.
What time do you want me to do? Like around 9?
Totally.
It's up to you.
Should we say, can we say 8:45? Is that okay?
Yes.
If everything works perfectly, then 9 o'clock would be great. I just want to leave room in case.
So I'll get here around 9. Or like, you want me here at like 8:45?
If you can do 8:45, that would be great. If that's hard, then we'll say 9. Hopefully you won't have the traffic you had today.
I think it's a lot better in the Saturday morning, so there's not as people. Because right now it's rush hour, people come back from work.
Right.
So service starts at 9:30, get here like 8:45.
Thank you very much.
So the highlight of my day today was,
So, that was the deal, and that's okay.
for some reason, I was supposed to have a
I worked at the VA for a long time.
I made some Cantor just today.
So I wonder what for
Lisa and Larry are in this room.
my three direct line.
But my machine at home breaks the phone. And then I found out.
Are you sure of her birthday?
Yeah.
It was like,
Macy's is closed.
when I was like 15, she shared 2 things with me. And one was a note from the woman from the bank that took her. She said,
Anyway, that's when the email was.
supposedly they were journalists. So I can't imagine, I imagine that why she would talk about it.
It was just the,
Anyway, so.
anyway, so I found out.
It is, for me, it is, because, it's been like, during a class this morning with Nicole, my Rev Nicole. I know.
Not yet.
Get used to it. She spoke of, like, last week, after you know, the whole thing. Yes, I'm talking about your class this morning. Yes, yes, yes. Cantor, thank you so much for being here. I'm vaccinated, it's okay.
Oh, I forgot my talus. I guess I should. I'm just gonna run and get a talus.
Oh, great.
Okay.
Okay.
Technology or something, I don't know, we're inside, I don't know. Hello? Next week I'll be sitting.
We're here.
No, Tuesday. That's only 'cause
Yeah.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Welcome to all on site and on Zoom. We're going to begin on page 5 with Shalom Aleichem. It's okay.
Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Borchem l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Shalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Shalom Aleichem, Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei HaMelachim, HaKadosh, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We turn to page 11 for Lachuna Ranana. לכו נרננה לאדוני, נריע לצור אישנו, נקדמה פניו בתודה, בזמירות נריע לו, כי אל גדול אדוני, ומלך גדול על כל אלוהים, אשר בידו מחקרי הארץ, וטפות הרים לו. אשר לא הים והוא עשהו, ויבשת יסף יצרו. בואו נשתחווה ונקרא לפני אדוני עושינו.
Just change the view to full screen.
ארבעים שנה כות בדור, ואומר עם טועה לבבהם, והם לא ידעו דרכי, אשר נשבעתי באפי, אם יבואון אל מנוחתי. We'll continue on page 13 with Psalm 96, Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash. Shirul Adonai, Shir Chadash, Shirul Adonai, Kol haaretz, Shirul Adonai, Baruch Shemo, Asru miyom leyom Yeshuato, Sapru v'goyim kilevodo, V'chol ha'amim nifleotav, Ki gadol Adonai, U'mehulal me'od, Norahu, Al kol Elohim, Dai dai dai, Ki kol Elohim, Ha'amim elilim, B'Adonai shamayim asa, Hod ve'hadar, Lefanav, Oz v'tiferet, Be'mikdasho, Havul Adonai, Mishpechot amim, Havul Adonai, Kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai, Kevod Shemo, Se'u mincha, Uvo'u lechatzrotav, Ishtachavu l'Adonai, Be'advat kodesh, Hilu mipanav kol haaretz, Imru v'goyim, Adonai malach, Aftikon tevel ba'al timot, Yadinamin be'misharim, Yismechu hashamayim v'tagel haaretz, Iram hayam, Uvelo Yazadai V'chol asher bo Az yiranenu kol atzeyar Lifnei Adonai kiva Lishpot haaretz Yishpot tevel be'tzedek Ve'amim be'emunato Dai 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 dai
We turn to page 19 for Psalm 99.
Adonai malach yugazu amim, Yoshev keruvim tanut haaretz. Adonai b'tzion gadol v'ram hu al kol ha'amim. Yodu shimcha gadol v'nora kadosh hu. V'yoz melech mishpat ha'hem. Mishpat v'tzedakah v'yakov ata'asita. Ramenu Adonai Eloheinu v'yishtachavu la'adam raglav kadosh hu. We join together on page 20 at the red triangle, Romemu Adonai Eloheinu. Please join me. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu romemu. Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'ishtachavu lehar kodsho.
We turn to page 21, Havul Adonai. Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, Havul Adonai kavod va'oz, Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Ishtachavu Adonai b'chadrat kodesh, Kol Adonai amayim el hakavod, hear him, Adonai almayim, almayim rabim. Kol Adonai ba'koach, Kol Adonai behadar, Kol Adonai shover arazim, vayishaber Adonai et arzei havanon. Vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon, v'sirion kemo ven re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavotesh, Kol Adonai yachil Adonai midbar kadesh, Kol Adonai yecholel hayalot, ve'yechesov yeharod, uv'heichalo kulo, Omer kavod. Adonai lama bu yashav, Vayeshev Adonai melech leolam, Adonai hoz liam hoyitein, Adonai yevarech et amo v'shalom. Page 22, Ana B'koach.
Ana b'koach, b'koach, gedulat yemincha, tatil tzerura, kabel rinatamcha, sagveinu tareinu nora. Ana b'koach, gedulat yemincha, tatil tzerura, kabel rinatamcha, sagveinu tareinu nora. Ana b'koach, gedulat yemincha, tatil tzerura, kabel Salvenu tarinu nora. Hai dai 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 dai.
We welcome Shabbat together with the verses of Lecha Dodi on page 23.
So this is a newer version of Lecha Dodi by a new composer named Ilana Arian. Can you hear me? No. Is this okay? Sorry. Okay, I'll try to speak louder. Actually, Rabbi Nicole introduced me to this melody, and I really liked it. So I'll just briefly teach the chorus. All right. So it's gonna go Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Let's just try that much. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. All right, and then Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Let's try that. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. All right, so it's going to go. Let's all try that one once more together. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Beautiful. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad. Hishmi'anu el hamiuchad. Adonai echad u'shmo echad. V'shem u'tiferet v'litila. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Likrat Shabbat Lechu v'necha. Ki mekor ha-beracha. Merosh mikeden nesucha. Sof ma'aseh b'machshavat tihila. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Mikdash Melech Ir Melucha. Kumitzei mitoch ha'afecha. Ravach shemen v'emek habacha. V'hu yachamol alaychem la. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. Hitnari me'afar kumi. Livshi bigdei tifartei chami. Al yad ben yishavet halachmi. Korva el nafshi ge'ala. Lecha Dodi Likrat Kala. Pene Shabbat Nekabela. לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. התעוררי, התעוררי, כי באורך קומי אורי, אורי אורי, שיר דברי, כבוד אדוני עלייך נגלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, לא תבושי ולא תקמי, מה תשתוכחי ומטעמי בך יחסו העניי עמי, ונבנתה עיר אל תילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. Sorry. והיו למשיסה שועשייך ורחקו כל מבלעייך, יסיס עלייך אלוהייך כמסוס קטן על כלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה, ימין ושמאל תפרוצי ואת אדוני תריצי על יד איש בן פרצי, ונשמחה ונגילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. בואי בשלום עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, בני שבת נקבלה.
We turn to page 27 for Psalm 92, the Psalm for Shabbat.
מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי אסור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. כי שימחתני אדוני בפועליך, במעשה ידיך רנן. מה גדול מעשיך אדוני מעולם כמחשבותיך.
צדיק אתה אמר יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינון בסבא,
ישנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד כי ישר אדוני סורי ולא הבלעת בו.
We turn now to page 34, Mourner's Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shevei rabbah ba'alma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chayei d'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach li'olam u'lamei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei d'kudashah
Brichu.
le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tushbachata v'nechemata da'amiran be'alma v'imru.
Amen.
Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru.
Amen.
Oseh shalom bimromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. So we now transition from our Kabbalat Shabbat service to our Maariv service, and we begin that on page 39a with Baruch, the call to bless God. Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach
Baruch Adonai Amporach
Leolam Vaed. Baruch et Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Uma'avir yom umevi laila umavdil ben yom uvein laila Adonai tzevaot shemo el chai v'kayam tamid yimloch aleinu leolam vaed. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv haravim. We're on the top of page 40. Ahavta olam beit Yisrael, amcha ahavta Torah, umitzvot chukim umishpatim. Va'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu la'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. We recite the Shema together on page 41. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol lebavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'odecha. V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shiftecha b'veitecha uv'lechtecha v'aderech uv'shachbecha uv'kumecha Ukshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot beineinecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'hisharecha, v'hayahim shamo, tishma'u el mitzvotai. Vayomer Adonai el Moshe lemor. Adonai Elohechem Emet Emunah Kol Zot V'Kayam Aleinu Ki Hu Adonai Eloheinu Ve'ein Zulato. On the top of 44. Umalchuto b'ratzon kibalu aleihem Moshe u'Miriam u'vnei Yisrael lecha anu shira v'simcha rabba v'amru chulam mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh nohorati lo tosef ele Malchutecha ra'uvanacha bokei hayam lifnei Moshe ze eli anu v'amru Adonai yimloch le'olam v'haed v'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov ugalo mi'ad chazak mimenu baruch ata Adonai ga'al Yisrael. We're on the top of 45 for the second bracha after the Shema. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom v'hamidenu malkeinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha v'taknenu b'etzah tova milfanecha v'hoshienu leman shemecha v'hagen be'adenu v'tzel kenafecha tastinenu ki al shomenu matzilenu ata ki al melech hanun berachum ata ushmor tzeitenu vo'enu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha baruch ata Adonai haporei sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim ve'shamru b'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat לדורותם ברית עולם ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ וביום השביעי שבת וינפש. יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה ועמד יברח חירותי וימליך מלכותי בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל בגלה ובזמן קריב אמרו אמן יהי שמי רבה מבורך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כה בחטא ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה תמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
beginning the Amidah together on the top of 47 with some words to ask for God's help to pray, and then we will continue thereafter silently.
Adonai sifatai tiftachu fi yagid tehilatecha.
Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. So we turn to page 54 for Kaddish Shalem. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, Yalma divra kirutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayedecho beit Yisrael, b'hagahala u'v'zman kari v'imiru. Amen. Yehi shmei Rabbah mevorach, Leolam leom me'almaya, Yitbarach, Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitba'ar, V'yitramam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yit'aleh, V'yit'halal, Shmei Kedusha, Brechu, Le'elam, Min kol bechata v'shirata, Dush bechata v'nechemata, Damiran v'alma v'imiru. Amen. Titkabal tzlot hon uva'ot hon d'chol Yisrael kodam avu hon divishmaya v'imru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Ohoseh shalom v'imromav hu ya'aseh shalom alenu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Shabbat shalom, everyone. Our Parsha this week is Parshat Ekev. At morning minyan yesterday, I talked about two seemingly very different conditions that concerned Moses. First, there was the tremendous fear that the Israelites demonstrated some 40 years earlier. They were too afraid to enter the Promised Land. The scouts whom Moses had sent into Canaan to investigate the land had returned with a very negative assessment of the land, reporting that the people who lived there were far too big and strong for the Israelites to defeat in battle. And the Israelites readily accepted the negative report. They regarded themselves as powerless, as grasshoppers, the Torah suggests. They pleaded to go back to Egypt or to die in the wilderness. They did not want to take possession of the land. God was furious with the people. They suffered from a profound lack of self-confidence, failing to appreciate that God would be with them to help them take the land. As punishment, God barred them from the land, and they would have to wander another 40 years without ever reaching their goal. So here in Ekev, Moses is concerned that now, 40 years later, the Israelites might still be too afraid to enter the land. The second condition that Moses feared was that the people might become arrogant once they did enter the land and prospered there. He warned the people, "When you have eaten your fill, and you have built fine houses to live in, and your herds and flocks have multiplied, and your silver and gold have increased, and everything you own has prospered, beware lest your heart grow haughty, and you forget the Lord your God, who freed you from the land of Egypt." So Moses is worried about those Israelites suffering from low self-esteem, who think of themselves as grasshoppers, and he's worried about those who might become arrogant. While these attitudes might seem different, Moses seemed to have the same concern about each one. The transgression of people with no confidence is effectively the same as the transgression of people with too much confidence. The sin they are all committing is the failure to appreciate God's role in their lives. The Israelites who lacked the confidence to enter the land could not appreciate that God would be with them, that God would help them win the battles they needed to win. The Israelites who might become haughty would fail to appreciate that they had amassed their wealth because of God's generosity. So the sin of both the arrogant and the meek is forgetting about God. Now, I proposed yesterday that the remedy Ekev offers for this problem, the problem of forgetting God, is compliance with the law. Moses insists again and again in Ekev that the Israelites must follow God's commandments, rules, and laws. I suggested that the ritual and moral obligations that God imposes serve to keep us conscious of God. And if we remain conscious of God's involvement with us, we may be better able to avoid the sins both of low self-esteem and of arrogance. Now, one specific aspect of the law that Moses suggests can keep us from forgetting God is the requirement to bless. And this is the piece that I wanted to focus on. Moses says, "When the Lord your God brings you into a good land, a land of wheat and barley, fruit of the vine, fig and pomegranate, a land in which you will lack for nothing. When you eat and you are satisfied, you are to bless God for the good land that he has given you." And Moses suggests that the reason to bless is to avoid forgetting God. "Take care," Moses says, "lest you forget the Lord your God by not keeping his commandments, his regulations, and his laws." This requirement to bless God for the land that God has given us when we eat and we're satisfied is the basis for the requirement that we recite Birkat HaMazon, also sometimes called grace after meals. Birkat HaMazon is a collection of blessings and short petitions, and these blessings and petitions include expressions of gratitude for food, land, liberation from Egypt, Torah, and divine compassion, as well as prayers that we should earn a decent living and that the Messiah will come. Rabbeinu Baya, a Spanish medieval Torah commentator, observes that we do not find any other place in the whole Torah, except here in Ekev, that commands us to bless his name. And Rabbeinu Baya understands this unique passage in Ekev to shed light on the question of how human beings can bless God at all. Isn't it presumptuous for a human being to claim to bless God? We do it all the time, when we light candles on Friday night, when we light Hanukkah candles, when we come up to the Torah for an aliyah, when we make a kiddush with wine or begin a meal with challah. We're blessing God. But what's the point of blessing God? What can we possibly bestow upon God when God is the source of everything? As Rabbeinu Baya puts it, the whole idea of the creature blessing the creator instead of vice versa is somewhat strange. Seeing that God is the source of all blessings and all the blessings devolve on his creatures from heaven, it's clearly an impossibility for any of his creatures to bless him adequately, Rabbeinu says. His existence is so self-sufficient that it has no need of anyone or anything beside him. Therefore, even if we were to bless him all day long and all night long, what would we accomplish by this? How would we thereby enhance his existence either qualitatively or quantitatively? Rabbeinu Baya asks. He considers multiple answers to these questions. One answer that he addresses is this. When a human being blesses God, the human being is the beneficiary, not God. When we bless God for what we have received and enjoyed, we testify that we acknowledge his benevolent and ongoing interest in all his creatures, Rabbeinu Baya says. And what is the benefit to the person who blesses God? God's continued generosity, Rabbeinu Baya says. Because God sees that we acknowledge God as the provider, God will continue to bless the produce, the fruit, etc. We find a related teaching in the Talmud. There we read that if someone enjoys the benefits of this world without reciting a blessing, without expressing thanks to God, it is as if he robbed both God and the Jewish people. That is, we're losing some of God's generosity when we fail to bless. So if we bless, if we acknowledge and express gratitude for what God has provided, we wind up increasing our blessings. And if we don't bless, we wind up decreasing our blessings. In fact, we commit theft. That is, by blessing God, we don't just acknowledge God's status as creator, we also have an impact on the world. We introduce greater blessing into the world. Rabbi Dr. Pinchas Pelly, a 20th century Israeli scholar, writer, and poet, also expressed this idea that by blessing God, we not only acknowledge God's sovereignty, but we actually effect change. By imposing the duty upon man to say a blessing, he says, Jewish law obliges him to see the wonder and the miracle in everything. The blessing is a remedy against forgetfulness, just as Parshat Ekev says. The blessing is a frequent reminder not to become enslaved to the conventional. Further, every blessing extends the presence of God in the world, according to Abraham Joshua Heschel. God is transcendental to the universe, but the blessings make God immanent. It causes God to dwell in the world. For God's dwelling in the world depends on us. When we say blessed, we extend God's glory, imparting and introducing some of his spirit to the world, Pelly says. So Ekev teaches us to follow God's laws and specifically to bless God so that we may remember that it is God who provides the gifts we enjoy. And, our tradition suggests, perhaps even more than remembering God's providence, blessing God enables us to influence God's providence, to increase God's presence in the world and the blessings that God chooses to offer. I wish you all Shabbat Shalom and a Shabbat filled with blessing. So we turn to Aleinu on page 56.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ויוסד הארץ ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל ושכינתו זו בגובי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום מחשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד אין עוד. על כן נקווה לך אדוני אלוהינו. ונאמר ראה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד.
So we turn to the Mourner's Kaddish on 58. Is that better? Is this loud enough? Yeah? Okay. We're on page 58. This week we are remembering Rose Smoka, Harold Fleischer, Sybil Efron, Rose Smoller, Jacques Weiss, Harry Rothman, Sarah Seiden, Muriel Fuchs, Marion Blakely, Alfred Zellman, Michael Zachman, Catherine Teisch, Samuel Singer, Leon Abraham Reiner, Anne Samet, William Bennett, Goldie Robinoff, William Bennett, Sari Neustatter, Esther Carlin, Lawrence Holland, William Feldman, Jacob Klamitz, Saul Greenman, Shotzi Gaines, Ada Letterman, Howard Levine, Evelyn Birnbaum, Marvin Magger, David Messenger, Howard Robert Udell, Rosalind Korick, Evelyn Leaf, Dorothy Poritsky, Marcia Bank, Dr. Emmanuel Juster, Israel Borak, Gertrude Judell, Warren Levy, Irving Eisenstein, Emil Feindling, and Gilbert Mussinger. Mourner's Kaddish on 58. Yitkadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divra kirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru. Amen. Yehei shmei rabbah mevarach le'olam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmeid kudusha brechu. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, tushbachata v'nechemata, da'amiran ba'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shamaya v'chayim aleinu va'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu va'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
So let's sing a Mishaberach together, holding in our hearts all those for whose healing we pray. Mishaberach avoteinu mekor habracha leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
Ann Berger, Eddie DeBrono, Jackie Greer, and John Paul.
Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. We are also praying for the healing of Freilich Udal bar Chava Malka v'David, Chava Gersha bat Esther Chaya v'Shalom, Hanan Itamar ben Shalom, Batsheva bat Sora v'Shalom, Shalom Levi ben Batsheva v'Moshe, Ephraim Avraham ben Moshe, Rachel bat Shena Elka v'Avraham, Tova bat Elka v'Yishaya, Baruch Ruvain ben Golda, Yoni bat Eileen, Simcha Chana bat Dina Fruma, Nechama Malka bat Sarah Leah, Aliza Yehudit bat Leah, Bela Sarah bat Rafaela Tzivia, Peretz Tzvi ben Dina, Benjamin Benish ben Sima Zelda, Avraham ben Sarah, Eliezer Littman, Ellen Gale Rubin, Shlomo Fisher ben David, Razel Bachana v'Mendel, Yehuda David ben Ruvain, Shoshana bat Etel, Benjamin Asher ben Rivka, Reuven ben Sarah, Sarah Ita bat Frida, Lazer ben Mendel, Rachel Zissel bat Hasa Etta, Chuna ben Avraham, Yosef ben Malka, Fruma bat Ruth. We turn to page 55 for Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho b'yahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'bereshit ki hu yom techila lemikra kodesh zecher letziat mitzrayim ki banu v'achalta leotanu kidashta mikol amim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uratzon hinchaltanu baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
So we turn to page 62 for Yigdal.
Yigdal Elohim chai ve'yishtabach nimsa v'yenet el metziuto echad v'yen yachid ke'ichudo elam v'gam ein sof le'achduto ein lo demut haguf ve'eino guf lo na'aroch elav kedushato kadmon lechol davar asher nivra rishon v'yein reshit lereshito hinod olam v'chol notzar yoreh gedulato malchuto shefa nevuato nevtano elan shesegulato v'tifbarto lo kam b'Yisrael kemo she'od navi u'ma'abit et emunato Torat emet natan le'amoel al yad nevi'o neman beito lo yachalifa'el ve'lo yamir dato le'olamim lezulato tzofeh v'yodea setarenu mabit lesof davar bekadmato gomel le'ish chesed kemifalo
נותן לרשע רע כרשעתו, ישלח לקץ ימין משיחנו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו, מתים יחייל ברוך חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו, מתים יחייל ברוך חסדו, ברוך עדי עד שם תהילתו. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom to all at home. I hope I'll see everyone tomorrow. Shabbat shalom. Thank you all for being here. Good night. Yishar kochech.